Okay, so we're doing solving quadratic equations. This is a quadratic equation, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. There's two ways that we're going to learn how to solve quadratic equations. The first way you're familiar with, that's called factoring. Okay, so let's try using this equation. Let's say you have, as your first example, x squared plus 6x equals -5. Okay? The first thing, before you can even start factoring this equation, you notice that it doesn't equal 0. That's a problem. So to get it to equal 0, you have to add 5 to both sides. So this becomes x squared plus 6x plus 5 equals 0. Okay? So now you can factor this using your big X.
Now you can factor it.
You know about your big X, okay? They can hear you. Close that window, Cindy, so that those blinds, the noise. Okay, so now, when you have the big X, what goes on the top?
B.
A and C.
A times C.
A plus C.
1, A times C. You have 1 times 5. You're going to mess up my video. 1 times 5, okay? On the bottom, you have B, which equals
6.
Okay? And I'm going through this because this is a review, so I'm going through it kind of fast.
Okay.
5 is the top number. Evelyn, don't get embarrassed on national internet. International internet. Okay, so 5 is the top number. You want to see what are the factors of 5. This is an easy one because there's only 2 factors for 5. Do those factors add up to 6?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's going to be the 2 numbers that we use, 1 and 5. Okay? You know, usually you have more choices, so this one was really easy.
Yes.
Then you list the factors for 1, 1 and 1. Then you list the factors for 5, 1 and 5. And these 2 numbers, when you multiply them, have to equal A. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
These 2 numbers have to equal A. These 2 numbers have to equal C. So these 2 numbers, you pick one from over here and one from over here. So pick 1 and 1. That's the only way you could get 1. 1 times 1. So if you picked 1, you have to pick the other one. And if you picked 1, you put 5. Questions so far? Alright, so when you get to this point, hopefully you remember how to write the parentheses. You start off in the top left-hand corner. This is going to be 1x. So we just write x. This is going to be plus 5. And then close the parentheses. New parentheses, you have 1x again. And then go around and you have positive 1. Okay? You get that? Follow the work, don't follow me. Okay, so now, are there any questions about how you get the parentheses? No. Okay. This is how far you got before. Now they want you to solve it. They don't just want you to factor it, they want you to solve it. So this equals 0. That's what they told you in the beginning. So what you have to do is separate it into 2 equations. Make both of them equal to 0. You will always have 2 answers for quadratic equations. Okay? So when you make both of them equal 0, all you have to do, you learned this in the beginning of the school year, so one-step equation. You do the opposite. They add 5, you subtract 5. 0 take away 5 is -5. So that's one answer. How do you solve the other one?
You do the same thing.
By
1 minus 1.
good. So you get x equals -1. So your 2 answers are -5 and -1. That's all you have to do. Any questions on this? The only thing new I think for you guys is when you get here, you have to break it up into two different equations. Make both of them equal 0 and solve it. Yes.
But can't you get the answer easier? Like, if you're trying to get 0, instead of doing all that, you just put -5 and plus
You
5.
mean if you're just looking at it?
Yeah. And then
If you know how to do it, yes. But I wanted to show for people who might not remember. Any other questions? All right.
That's a wrap.
You pressed it?
Hardly.
Okay, 9-6. 9-6 teaches you about the quadratic formula. This is the other way that you can solve a quadratic equation. The quadratic formula is a very long formula, but lucky for you, it's on your reference sheet. You do not have to memorize it. We did when we were in school, but you don't. Okay? So the quadratic formula is x equals, you're just going to write it down, but when you take your quiz, I'll give you a reference sheet. The opposite of b, you don't say negative letters. Only numbers are negative. Okay? You say opposite. The opposite of b, plus
Opposite of B.
or minus, that's what that sign means. The square root of b squared minus 4ac. All of that over 2a. Now I know you're probably looking at this formula saying that is ridiculous, but trust me, once you get used to it, it's even easier than doing the factoring. You could be done with this in 3 steps. Okay, so don't get scared of looking at it. So let's say we have another equation. Call this equation number 2.
This is 14.
And we're going to solve it. It's going to be x squared plus 6x equals negative 8. What's the first thing I need to do, Evelyn?
It don't equal 0.
Good. It doesn't equal 0, so what should I do?
Add 8.
Add 8 to make it equal 0. And if you add 8 to one side, you have to add 8 to the other side. So you get x squared plus 6x plus 8 equals 0. Yes.
So
Don't talk too loud.
why would you add the 8 not underneath the 6x? Why would
Good
you
question. Why don't you add the 8 under the 6x? Because this is 6x and this is just 8. It's not 8x. So you can't put it together. It doesn't have an x. Okay? So now, if you want to do the quadratic formula, first thing you need to do, you see all these letters A, B, C?
Oh, that's easy.
You need to figure out what does A equal, what does B equal, and what does C equal. What is A for this equation?
1.
1. What is B?
6.
6. What's C?
8.
8. Very good. Questions?
It just goes in order.
Wait.
A is 1. A is the number in front of
No.
Okay. Honest answer. Okay, so we got this, right? 1, 6, 8. Okay, actually, this is what I'm going to do. Sorry, camera people. I'm going to switch this up because I want you to see what it looks like when one of these is negative. So no big deal. We're going to make this 7. We're going to make this positive 8. So now we're going to subtract
So erase
8.
everything out your mind.
Then we're going to make this 7 minus 8. Okay? No biggie. I just want you to get a really good example. So A is still 1. What's B now?
7.
7. And now what's C?
-8.
Negative 8. Good. Okay, so make your adjustments, your corrections, hopefully, because this is math, you would be using a pencil. But if not, erasable pen. Okay. Anyway, you can use the quadratic formula. All you have to do is take your time. If you can find what A, B, and C equals, now you have a 50% chance of getting this question right. That's how easy it is. The hardest step is what we're about to do. Why? Because people like to rush. They don't like to take their time. So, this says the opposite of B. What is B?
7.
So what's the opposite of B?
Negative 7.
Very good. You'll be surprised how much that messes people up. Negative 7 plus or minus square root B squared. What is B again?
7.
So what's B squared?
14.
49.
49.
No, that's the mistake a lot of people make.
7 squared.
They're rushing. So 7 squared, they say 7 times 2, 14. No.
49.
7 squared is 7 times 7. Remember?
Okay.
Okay. So 7 times 7 is 49. Any questions on that?
Yes.
Evelyn?
You're on video.
She wants to embarrass herself. It's okay. Minus 4AC. This means 4 times A times C. So what would that be?
4 times 1.
Negative 32. Positive 32. Or positive
4
32.
times 1 times negative 8. That's all. Don't think too much. 4AC. 4 times 1 times negative 8.
Positive 32.
You did that in your calculator?
I
don't
did it in
think
my
you
I did it in my head. Negative 32.
Negative 32. 4 times 1 times negative 8 is negative 32.
That's what I said.
Don't forget about the negative, and don't confuse it with the minus sign. They're separate. That's why I put it in parentheses. Make sense? All over 2A. What's 2A? 2 times A.
2.
2, because A is 1. Very good. That is the hardest step. If you get that right, you're probably 70% chance of getting the question right.
So why does that plus
low.
and why does
Your
the
voice is like right there.
why does the plus and minus sign matter?
You get to that. All right, next. Everything in that square root sign has a name. This whole part of the formula right here, it has a name, this part. And that name sounds like the word discriminate, but it's not discriminate. See, looks like I'm about to spell discriminate. It's discriminant. Discriminant.
I'm making up words.
Discriminant is not a made-up word. Okay? Discriminant is the square root of b squared minus 4ac. That's the discriminant. That is the focal point of this formula. That's what we have to really work on. We got to break this down, because see, this is too much going on right here. There's too much going on. So that's what you got to work on. So do 49 minus negative 32 in your calculator and tell me what you get.
49 minus negative
49
81.
minus negative 32 is what?
81. 81.
81.
81.
So you notice I didn't change anything else. The only thing I did was change that to 81. Believe it or not, we're almost done.
So we never got the answer yet.
We're working on the answer.
Alright. Just making sure.
That's just putting the numbers in the formula. Okay, now, what's the square root of 81?
9.
9.
Very good. You see, we broke that discriminant down. No more discrimination.
You moved the percentage because there's nothing else.
The square root.
The square root because why?
Because you put this in your calculator. You press 81, press the square root sign, and the answer is 9.
So because there was only one number in there.
No, because this equals that. Okay, the square root of 81 equals 9. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but this whole thing equals 9. That's why we're not writing this anymore. We're writing 9. Is that what your question is?
Why did you get rid of the square root sign? Is it?
That's square root?
Yes, yes. Is it because there's on the 81's in there and there's only one number? So because there's only one number in there.
Yes, because here it's like order of operations. You gotta do the subtraction in here first. Then you can do the square root.
Thank you. Now you answer my question.
All right, we rolling.
You get rid of it because there's only one number in there.
Very good. I got you now. Now, this is when you use the plus or minus. Okay?
Okay.
You're gonna break this up. You know how over here we broke this up into 2?
Yeah.
Now we're gonna break this up into 2. One is gonna be the plus, one is gonna be the minus. But you're still gonna get 2 answers. Okay, so you do negative 7 plus 9 divided by 2. Tell me what you get.
Huh?
That's
Negative
16
7
divided by 2.
No. 7
Negative
7.
16.
Negative 7 plus 9. Use
2.
la calculadora.
Oh, it's
Divided by 2.
2.
1.
It's 1.
1. So x equals 1. 1. That's what you get when you
You see, you
plus.
do that and then you do it like that.
Now, let me stop you right here. If you're not using one of my calculators, if you're using a scientific calculator, which you're not supposed to be using because you can't use those on the EOC, this is why. The scientific calculator.
3.
Okay, so if you're using a scientific calculator, you are going to put this in your calculator and it's going to tell you a different answer because the scientific calculator tries to think for you. So if you put this in, it's going to do order of operations. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. And it's going to say, oh, they must want me to do the division first and then the addition. But you don't. You want a nice basic calculator that will just do what you tell it to do. Okay? Scientific calculators for when you get higher level math and you don't have to do all that thinking. Your calculator do it for you. Here it's just going to mess you up. So if you have a scientific calculator, you have to do -7 plus 9, then press equals. Then divide by 2. Make sense? If you're using my basic calculator, you just do all of it at one time and it'll be okay. Alright, so now let's do the minus. -7 minus 9 divided by 2.
Eight.
-8. If you didn't get negative, you did something wrong.
-8.
-7 minus 9 is -16. Divide by 2, you get -8. So those are your two answers. 1, -8. Any questions?
What about the 0?
What about the 0?
Why'd you put it there?
You don't use it. It's for factoring. Factoring, you use the 0. I didn't put it there. The 0 was a part of the problem. Okay? In order to solve it, it has to look like this. Any other questions? All right. Cut. Okay, the last thing on the test is if I ask you to find the discriminant. It's really easy, okay? Like, say for instance, I just take this and I do it really fast. If I was to give you this original equation and I said, what is the discriminant? Don't try to solve the whole problem. All you need to do is this. Square root b squared minus 4ac. So you would find A, B, and C. You would plug in those numbers, just like we did right here, and you would get the square root of 49 minus -32, right? Then you would solve that, and you get the square root of 81, and that equals 9, and that would be your answer. I don't want to know the answer to the whole equation, the solution. All I want to know is the discriminant.